Hello and welcome to your programme Q&A session that will cover the MSc in Brain Sciences, the MSc Research Methods of Psychological Science and our MSc in Psychological Science conversion. We're joined by our panel here today and hopefully we can answer all your questions about the programme. If you've got any questions that are about your application, funding, things like that, I'll put some useful links into the chat box for you and that'll be a good place to get those questions answered. We are recording this session, so if you do miss anything, don't worry, we'll share that shortly after today. Guillaume, would you like to kick off and introduce yourself and then we'll go around the room?
Okay. Hi, folks. So I'm Guillaume Rousselet. I'm in charge of the MSc in Brain Sciences. So that's the program where we take students with a variety of background, mostly in psychology, neuroscience, and some medical degrees. And we do provide a lot of training in neuroscience and some research methods. So there's quite a mix on offer. There's some training in R statistics where you get lots of transferable skills, catch up on neuroscience, and then application to clinical models. And then in semester 2, we have a range of options as well. Very exciting. You can do more stats if you want more stats, but you can also learn about machine learning methods applied to different type of data, including brain scans, for instance, and we also have options in bioimaging and so on. And then you do, in semester 3, you do a research project. So where you'll be joining a lab and do a project there. And that's it for me. And if you have more questions, just ask in the chat or just get in touch via email. I'd be happy to answer any queries you have.
Thank you. And Steph, do you want to introduce yourself and then your programme?
Of course. So I'm Dr. Steph Sayan. Lovely to have you all along. So I am the programme lead for the MSc Psychological Science conversion programme. So this is a postgraduate programme for people who either do not have an undergraduate degree in psychology or maybe have a degree in psychology, but one that isn't accredited by the British Psychological Society. So because it's a conversion programme, it sort of covers the range of subjects under the realm of psychology, so everything from cognitive psychology, social psychology, but with the option to choose some sort of specialist modules as well for students who want to specialise down a particular route, for example, clinical health psychology.
And Phil?
Yeah, morning everyone. My name's Phil McAleer and I am programme lead on the MSc Research Methods of Psychological Science, and Helena Patterson has joined us, also runs this programme with us. This programme is really for people that sort of have done psychology or maybe neuroscience beforehand and want to extend their skills in the research methods relating from behavioural psychology, behavioural experiments, brain imaging experiments, neuroscience experiments, and lots of methods and data skills in between.
And Sanjana, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello, I'm Sanjana. I studied at the University of Glasgow and I just graduated. So I did the MSc Psychological Sciences conversion and I specialized in cognitive neuroscience. And I'm working as an assistant psychologist now in Norfolk and Suffolk. So I'll be able to answer any questions about the course or maybe options for the future.
Great. And Helena, would you like to say hello?
Hello there, I'm Helena Patterson, and as Phil said, I'm his deputy on our Research Methods of Psychological Science. I also teach on various of the programs, so I can answer questions about some of that content and things like that.
Great. I think one of the first questions that might be a good one to start with is about the optional courses within the programme. So can you tell us about that? When do students choose them? Should they come with an idea of what they want to study, or do they get a bit of time? Andy, like to kick off?
I'm happy to go. So on RMOPS, we have a mix of core and optional courses. So core are the ones everyone has to take and optional ones you can all choose from. It tallies up to about 30 credits of options, and it's a mix of 20 credit modules and 10 credit modules. On the web pages right now for the programme, you can see the vast majority of the options, but obviously this is currently March, I think. And the programme doesn't start until September. So things always happen in the meantime, like people leave, come and join sort of thing. So it gives a good estimate of what options are there right now. There might be one or two changes before the start of term, but it's always good to keep that in mind. You can choose your options anytime once you register as a student, and up until basically 2 weeks into the start of the semester in September going into October. Those are for the semester 1 options, and then for the semester 2 options, you can again sort of change your mind at the start of semester 2 in January for the first couple of weeks there. So there is scope for trying things out, seeing what works for you, and if you're keen on a couple of options, try them both for a week and see which one works, and then choose one you think is going to be best for you.
Perfect. And Steph, Guillaume, is there anything that you'd like to add to that, or is that similar?
No, so it's very similar in terms of students are doing 30 credits of optional modules. The options will differ to the modules from Phil and Guillaume's programme. But again, if you check the website, you can get a good sort of overview of the sort of range of different courses that we have subject to change with staffing changes, etc. And it's exactly the same add drop period. So you have until after you enroll, you'll be picking courses, but you have up until the second week of each semester. So as Phil said, if you're not sure, definitely give it a go, see what the assessment's like and what works for you.
Yeah, it's the same system. The difference with Brain Sciences is there's only 20 credits of taught options in semester 2, but there's also as part of animal models, which is the first course in semester 2, students have do the PIL ABC training, well, AB, and the C is optional, which means that students who want to do an in vivo project can get certified with an animal license so that they can do animal work in the UK.
Perfect. And then the project is such a large part of the MSc. Could you tell us a bit about how students go about choosing their topic, when all of that sort of happens, and then maybe we can hear from Sanjana about her experience of her project.
Should we go in the same order, make it easier? Okay, cool. So for RMOPS, it's actually one of the main aspects of joining the program in the first place. We align you up with a supervisor before you become matriculated. So part of the process is once you've got a conditional offer from the admissions team, Helena and I get in touch with you to try and see what your interests are and to see where we can match up with your supervisor. We've started that process now in the last week. So if you have got a conditional offer, you should either have heard from us or be hearing from us. And if you're thinking about joining us, you will hear from us in the coming few months as well, sort of thing. So yeah, we will be in touch. We will ask you a couple of questions, and then from there we will match up who the best person is we have available for supervision. And then you can start your project from basically day 1 of the whole program.
I think it's me next, if I remember the order correctly, on our Monday morning. So this is one where our dissertation sort of allocation process is quite different from Phil's. So essentially for semester 1, students are just focusing on their taught courses and really just getting to grips with everything that semester 1 brings. It's not until the very end of semester 1 where we start to think about dissertation allocations. We'll probably run it very similar to how we did it this previous year, or the current academic year, I guess. So you'll be given lots of information about staff who are available for supervision and the type of topics that they might be willing to supervise in about December. And we encourage you to just go have a chat, attend that staff members' office hours, get a bit more information, for example, about their supervision style, whether they do group supervision, individual supervision. And then you use all of that information to put in a preference form. So this year it was up to 6 members of staff, and then there's an algorithm that does the actual dissertation allocation. And then you get started on the dissertation work from January, and it runs all the way up until August. So it gives you some time for semester 1 to just find your feet with everything and then turn focus to the dissertation in semester 2, and we'll support you along the way.
Yeah, so for Brain Sciences, we have project allocation organized in December, January. So typically there's a list circulated of project, and then students are free to go talk to the members of staff, and then we ask students for their preferences in January. There's a different system if students want to do an in vivo project, because that's much more involved, and in that case it's a direct negotiation with a different pool of supervisor that is available. And our projects are quite quite broad in scope, like the pool. So that's something to consider. So if students want to go beyond what they used to, pick a psychology type of maybe cognitive neuroscience project if they're coming from a neuroscience background, or vice versa. So there's quite a lot on offer.
Great. And Sanjana, how was it for you?
The process was exactly how Steph said it. So we got the whole list of supervisors at the end of semester one. I think you need to choose your supervisor based on what you're going to specialize in. So you get a specific list for like cognitive neuroscience and then a specific list for clinical psychology. And since I did neuroscience, there was a few I could choose from. I found it really helpful to go and have use the office hours and talk to them. And I would say as important as it is to study something you find interesting, it's also important to have a supervisor you get along with and who has experience supervising students. So I would say that you should weigh both of them up equally. But yeah, it was a great experience. I learned so much, and it was really good.
Ah, great. And can you tell us a wee bit more about the assessments that each of the programmes have? Are they quite similar, or do they get a bit of variety, the students? Phil, do you want to kick us off?
The variety of the projects, there's quite a, sorry, basically my email was pinging heavily in the background, so I was trying to turn it off, so I got a wee bit confused there. Sorry, the variety of the projects, Naomi, yeah?
Assessments.
Assessments, sorry. Yeah, a variety of assessments. Yeah, we use on our MSc, we use a lot of kind of coursework really, and I think we've only got one exam based in our MSc right now. And again, that might change between now and Christmas, depending on how things go. To explain that a little bit, the university asks us to kind of plan basically now for the upcoming year. So we're about to go through that process. So depending on we get the feedback from different reviewers, things change. It's not that we don't know what's going on, it's just things change a little bit coming up. So yeah, a lot of the assessments is coursework. We use a variety of different courseworks like critical reviews, which are kind of like really deep dive essays into kind of a field. We use practical assessments, particularly on things like data skills, where we learn about R and coding and data wrangling in R. We use practical skills in statistics. So Guillaume is one of the lecturers on the stats module, and they'll use kind of like 3 assignments across maybe 10-week module to try and build up skills along the way. And we use kind of presentations as well, along with the dissertation. So effectively what we're trying to do is build a variety of skills in a whole bunch of areas. So when you leave the MSc, it's really about kind of what skills and knowledge you've developed across a whole bunch of tasks. So even if you don't go into something to do with psychology, you can still apply those in a variety of different areas.
Steph, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, so again, we've got quite a variety of different assessments. So everything from sort of online timed exams to research reports to small stake sort of multiple choice questionnaires for some of the data skills modules. And just to say that as you're making your decisions about your course options, you'll have all the information about how the course is assessed. So sometimes that's what people take in consideration if they sort of want to plan the semester out. So that's always something worth having a chat about as well.
And for brain sciences, it's mostly coursework, like Phil has described. We have one exam for fundamentals of neuroscience, which is just to check basic knowledge before you move on to more advanced topic in semester 2. And there's some presentations in a lot of courses. Most of them are formative, but at the end of the year, you'll give a viva to describe your research project to the whole class. So it's quite fun. It's like a mini conference at the end of the year, and you'll get lots of transferable skills from that, because most jobs you've got to give presentation at some point. So it's really good practice.
Great. And Sanjana, how did you find the different assessments throughout your MSc?
I think it was really helpful that we had different types of assessments. So there was obviously ones that were essay-based and timed. So 20, you have 2 hours to do it. And then there were others where you could write an essay and submit it. So it was really helpful to have a diversity of types of exams to give. I would say don't shy away from giving the 2-hour exams. I think it's good to get a balance of the different types of exams there are. And as scary as it is, it actually helped me build a good foundation. And I know we've spoken about timed exams and how scary it can be, but if you prepare well, I think it's a really good skill to have, and to build that foundation. But obviously balance is great. So pick courses that have some online and some essay based.
Great. And in terms of preparing to start your MSc in September, is there anything that students can be doing to set themselves up for a good start? Phil, any advice?
I was going to say, Helena, actually, do you want to answer that about preparing for the next semester?
I think one of the things, one of my roles is the technology enhanced learning and teaching lead. And one of the things that I would recommend is that you check your personal IT equipment and get something decent, that a laptop or something like that you can use. We do in all the programs engage in teaching people coding. So it's worthwhile thinking a little bit about coding practice and just looking at stuff like that. If you play games and things like that, that can sometimes be helpful. But in general, just know that you're coming into somewhere that we deeply respect your ability to code, and we try and teach that to all of our students. And we're actually very, very successful at that. Beyond that, I think it's kind of like reading a good introductory book about psychology can be really helpful. So any introduction, if you've never done anything in psychology before, that is a really helpful thing. I can't really think of anything else, but it's sort of like more kind of like get yourself some interesting things. We do have, I think, Steph, I know you might have a kind of like pre-prepared reading list that all the lecturers have contributed to a little bit to get people just engaged in a few things. But popular books in psychology, anything by Oliver Sacks, that's probably going to set you off really well.
Yeah, absolutely. So on our Linktree information, as Helena referenced, there is that list of resources. Everything's just optional. It's just about exactly giving you that understanding of the breadth of psychology, and also maybe paying attention. The statistics makes a lot of students nervous, and we absolutely understand that, and we're here to support that. But it might be helpful just to sort of familiarize yourself with some of the stuff ahead of time, which is all available on the Linktree, more for your confidence than for actually needing to come in ready to go. We start at the very beginning, but the confidence is a big aspect of coding. I speak for myself too. I'm learning.
Yeah, and all our reading lists are available online for the different courses. So if you type reading list Glasgow, you'll find the link, and we put that also in our communications, so that depending on the topic, you can go ahead, select a course, and check all the reading material that will come in different recommended bands. So there's like essential readings, more advanced ones, so you can focus on key elements like that. And also just get in touch with the program leads, and we'll be happy, based on your background, to give you some recommendation on where to start. And also all our statistic teaching is available online, open access. And there's plenty of resources to get started with.
Great. Phil, did you want to come in with something there, and then we'll jump to Sanjana?
Yeah, just I think also just keep in mind that like you're not starting fresh here. You have like much experience from when you're undergrad and things like that. So you'll all have a lot of feedback from previous things you've done in your undergrad, things like writing essays, using the literature. And a lot of the skills we're going to kind of develop in our MSCs are just going to build on that. So one thing I would encourage you to do is think back or look at the feedback you've received over your final year or how many years you have in your undergrad, and think, what are the kind of the areas I can build on or kind of get more experience on, and just try to isolate them and come in prepared to look for that help We have a lot of help going on. Like there's a lot of things like office hours where you can come chat to members of the staff every week for a couple of hours. We've got a lot of online support. Like Helena puts a lot of things on through her role as TEL. And part of it is just meeting us halfway and being like, okay, I need a bit of a development here. What sort of resources do you have? And we can only do that if you know what resources you need. So being a bit prepared and thinking about where you could build your skills coming into the MSc would be a really good start as well.
And Sanjana, any advice for someone who's done it?
I think, well, I had done biomedical science for my undergrad, so that helped in terms of the statistics and analysis and to think scientifically. But even if you've not, I think the course just starts with everything you would need. It's a great foundation. And you're obviously also just moving places, so it's all new. So I would say just get settled in first, and then immerse yourself. So I found it really helpful to go for office hours especially for statistics and for research methods. You can just go and talk to your professor and it's totally fine. And they're very, very helpful. And then with the readings, I think lots of people get stressed because there are lots of readings to do, but they're so helpful even in terms of having conversations with people. So even like during my interviews, there's things that I would remember and then I would be able to talk about. So I think having conversations with your professors and with your students is such a good preparation for the course as well and for what's expected.
Great. And how did you find the transition from undergraduate to postgraduate?
I think so. This course is a funny one because it is an introduction, but it's also master's. So while what I was studying wouldn't be counted as a master's in psychology, my exams and what I was given was obviously it had to be to that standard. So I think it's helpful, as I think did Phil say it, where you see how you used to write or how you used to study in your undergrad and then build on it. I think we have lots of, I think Helena runs it, like learning how to study, and everyone studies differently. And I think during my undergrad, and it was also COVID year during my undergrad, so I didn't have a good understanding of how I should study. So when I came here, I think it just helped to understand how I learn. And yeah, I think that's it. Just give yourself some space as well. It's not going to be perfect at first, but it gets better and it gets very exciting.
I think that's a really good example as well of all the different support services and things that are run to help our students. Really just make use of them and take advantage of all of them. And in terms of after your MSc, what sort of jobs do students for the different programs tend to go on to do?
I can start. There's a variety of things, do you know, like, well, one of the main things our MSc is designed for is to help people move into PhDs and start trying to build up kind of the academic life. But whilst that is kind of one of our goals, again, it's kind of like we're saying earlier, it's about developing a whole range of skills so you can go into a variety of different stuff. I mean, people have left their MSc to become data analysts, work for the government and those sorts of ideas as well, or just kind of move into graduate jobs with a bit more experience in writing up reports, giving presentations, group work, all these different things that we actually do. We cover so many different variety of useful graduate attributes that will help you across a variety of different careers. And whilst we are kind of really heavily focused in the academic lifestyle and building people towards PhDs, we're really mindful of these kind of different routes. And we have modules, I think, across most of the MSCs called professional skills, which allows people to look at things like their CV and how you could target your CV towards different types of jobs and what type of jobs are actually out there. So it's kind of one of the modules you will take on on our MOPS and on Steph's MSc, I think, as well. We'll do professional skills and build towards it.
It's an
Steph's going to
option.
correct me.
Yeah.
It's an option, yes. So you definitely have the option, at least, about taking on these kind of ideas and building towards different careers.
Yeah, I'd say for our program, it's very similar in terms of the range of skills that you've acquired can go on and be applied to lots of different avenues. Lots of our students are interested in mental health. And so Sanjana is a beautiful example of that, wanting to sort of work in clinical psychology and build up that profile potentially eventually for the clinical doctorate. I think the main goal of our program is to get people that eligibility for the graduate basis chartership of chartered membership, of the BPS, which is then that stepping stone for many sort of careers as a professional psychologist, whether that be forensic psychology, clinical psychology, health psychology. So that BPS accreditation is really important to our students.
Great. And Guillaume, you've shared that link there, but is there anything you'd like to add?
No, but the best ways to get ideas of what you can do with MSc in Brain Sciences is to follow that link. We have a lot of students doing PhDs or job research assistant, but a lot of students go on into working companies in industry or in NGOs or with the Scottish government, for instance, in various places. It's just amazing once you've have experience doing a research and you can touch on some clinical or neuroscience topics. There's a lot of intersections, and obviously learning statistics and R programming opens a whole bunch of new doors too. So now we have a lot of students doing data science type of jobs, which may or not involve doing research and may be applied to clinical conditions. So that it is, we tap into a lot of professional skills and training that can lead you into very different directions. So it's quite exciting, but it's like no one size fits all. So it's depending on people's background expectations and what they get from the program, they can go in so many different directions. It's really hard to answer that question, but it is fun.
Yeah. And Sanjana, can we come to you? How did you find, did you know what you wanted to do after your MSc, or did it take a bit of time?
Well, it did take a bit of time because I obviously hadn't studied psychology before. I had an idea that I wanted to work with patients or maybe do research. So I think the course is really great in terms of it gives you these great research master's level skills. And then you can also make it what you want. So I chose cognitive neuroscience because I really like that, but you can choose clinical psychology. And no matter what you choose, you can go on to do the role I'm doing. So I'm doing an assistant psychologist post, or you can go on to do research, a research assistant role or data skills roles. I thought the university was really helpful in terms of providing support. So there's lots of career service. I also use the interview service and practice my interviews. And it's been a great foundation to then go on to work. So I think I just kept my mind open. I think that was really helpful rather than just being really focused on one thing, because you've just started, you actually might not know much about psychology. I didn't before I started. So I also applied for loads of jobs, whether they were research assistant or assistant psychology, and just saw what was coming and where my skills lie. Few things that I found really helpful was to like email professors and ask them if they had any internships available, or even PhD students. So I just like went and helped a PhD student with their research. And then the other thing I did was work as a support worker. So you can really make it what you want based on your experience and outside your studies. Yeah, so all of that experience helped me get this role.
And that's another nice example, isn't it? Just make the most of all those opportunities that are made available to you. There's a question that's just popped through there. I don't know if we could take a quick minute to just look at that. Is there any programme that provides training in both research and clinical setting? I don't believe that's one that we would offer within.
No, so the closest might be Brain Sciences, because we do have a lot of preclinical research covered, but it's like animal models of disease. But we don't offer, for instance, placements that would involve NHS patients. Like none of our programs would do that, and we're not clinically accredited in any way.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing. We're not clinical researchers either. You know, even when you were talking about the brain imaging approaches we'll use, what we may use will be sort of like preclinical screenings for things like depression or stress or anxiety, or preclinical screenings for different groups. And we might work in those areas, or some of our researchers may have access to clinical groups through their own connections, and there might be some link of using like secondary data. But we are heavily research methods school. In both psychology and neuroscience. So yeah, we would not be really putting people into clinical settings at all.
Perfect. And that brings us nicely to the end of our session. So thanks very much to our panel for taking time out of your days. I know that you have got very big, busy diaries, so thanks very much. And thanks, Anjana, for coming back and speaking to us and sharing your experience. It's been lovely to hear both the academic side of things and the student experience side, so thanks very much. And hopefully everybody watching has found that useful. Like I said, if you've got any further questions, the contact email address for each of the programmes is on our programme web pages, and the team are brilliant at getting back to you, so do get in touch if you need anything. And hopefully we'll see you all come September. So thanks very much. Bye bye.